recording. Welcome. This is episode 7 of FPL the Onion, joined by the usual setup tonight. It's me, Ash, and Nick. How are we doing, Nick?
Very good, thank you, Shlee. Very good. Yeah, we had a bit of an impromptu one last night with my cousin Tom on his wild card. I think we must have got picked up by some Google algorithm because we got a lot of views last night. People didn't stick around for too long, so maybe we still struggling with the sound and the technical stuff, but we're still just gonna crack on and continue to improve and see how we get on. So
Yeah,
good to be back again.
Are you getting the didn't stick around for long from my? Did I tell you the 5% thing, or did you look at this as well?
No, I didn't look at it. I took from what you'd said, but I mean, it does make sense. I think 5%. Were we going about an hour or something, maybe a bit longer? But people were sticking around for on average about 3 minutes. So they're just making up their mind and then going, "Yeah,
No,
this
but
isn't the place."
no, but to be fair, no, Tom was very good, and I enjoyed listening to that this morning. And yeah, it got like 3 times more views than any other video, so we're scratching our heads a bit about that. It might just be that you put the magic word wildcard into the title, or it could be that I wasn't there. Who knows?
No, but big thank you to Tom for doing that. It was great, and he was braving the mosquitoes in South Africa where he lives to stream with us.
Yeah, that was quite funny. Sort of like
Good.
swiped across the camera once. I was like, just caught my eye, and then quickly explained what's going on.
Yeah, I love the look of his wild card as well. Hopefully, I haven't talked him out of some moves that were gonna do well for him. But yeah, I'm very jealous of him playing the wild card this week.
Did you see? Have you watched Black Box this week?
Yeah, I did. I listened to it today.
Did you see Praz's team? I think he must have wildcarded last week or the week before. It's beautiful,
Yeah,
and Az was taking the time to say, "Oh, this is beautiful."
yeah, it was very nice. And
Um,
as interesting decision to free hit this week. What do you make of that?
oh, has he? Oh, I didn't get to that bit. I'm only 75% through. Okay,
Yeah.
free hit this week. Well, there's a lot of doubles, but maybe not the best teams apart from Chelsea. Kind of, yeah, makes sense. I mean, there's so many different strategies now, isn't it? It's very difficult to know what's right and wrong.
No, indeed. I mean, the guys like Praz and Sonaldo were really talking it up because they're saying that obviously he didn't free hit last week, and obviously we're gonna look at that later. And he's able to get 3 Chelsea for this week, and yet he might not want them longer term. But I don't know. I think as they were saying, and as you just said, there are lots of different strategies, but it's difficult to know, isn't it? We'll look at the free hits from 27 this bit later on.
Yeah, just a bit conscious your video is lagging quite a bit. Not sure what we can do. Might hopefully catch itself up a bit, or yeah, maybe Kate's stuck Netflix on or something. Let's see.
We could just put that that screenshot of my face on that we've got.
Do you want to
Just
jump to
literally
the
make
last slide now? Let's not ruin the surprise. When we get to your tinkering, we'll see your face.
Indeed.
Okay, we'll quickly look at what we did last week. So on the screen, Darren Bayliss, for you when you're having a little run through Hayward Heath and Linfield, is my team from last week and the fixtures from last week. And the fact I am, yes, behind Nick in the ranks, 56k. But yeah, I got a 60-point week, 4-point hit, taking me to 56. And highlights for me, I guess, was Kane and Son double up. I did Salah to Son and Edouard Weghorst, Captain Weghorst, unfortunately. But double City clean sheet was pretty good. Actually, I mean, it was a good week for the defences, wasn't it? De Gea came in. I didn't have Foster, so there was no annoying bench in there. And Dini came in with 6. So, yeah, really happy. And as we'll come to, it was a week when a lot of people free hitted, and I got away with it. And I was thinking a small red I'd be happy with, but I got a small green. So, yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. The Kane Son double up worked really well for you, didn't it?
Yeah. I was I said to you that, I thought when we did was it the halftime episode last week, and we were talking about I don't know, I thought I was pretty early on the random thought of, what, Salah to Son seemed a good idea, and you raised your
Yeah.
eyebrows. I was like, well, that's risky, but then a lot of people did it. I don't know if that was because, again, chip strategy was different, but it seemed to be pretty popular, and yeah, it came off pretty well. Obviously late goal, so almost didn't happen, but yeah, Kane assist was pretty cool. Yeah, pretty happy.
Very nice. Yeah. I did the Salah to Son move as well because it was my kind of it was like the hokey cokey idea. Instead of, I quite liked going Salah to Son and then Bruno back to Salah, meaning I can keep Son.
Yeah, nice.
Um, but
So yeah,
yeah,
your
that's
team's on screen now.
there you go. So my team, for people listening, if we can sort that out at some point, De Gea in goal, Cancelo with 9, Saiss with 2, Laporte with 7, Bowen, Gallagher, Fernandez, Son, Broja, Weghorst, captain, and Jimenez. I don't know. Is your internet playing up now, Ashley? Mine keeps cutting in and out on this.
Don't know.
Site.
I can't really
You
see
seem
how
okay?
mine's going. I got some like mad stats off yours on this new app we're using, but how I get to those again, I'm not sure. Yeah, you seem a bit laggy all of a sudden again.
Yeah, I keep losing the screen share, but it's fine. We'll keep going. See if
Yeah,
I
I
can.
think the audio's okay and everything. So yeah, let's crack on. How close were you to Captain
Okay.
Son? Because I remember you saying, "Oh, you like that fuzzy feeling of the double and the fact that Weghorst did well." I mean, he's been slated quite a lot. The previous week he did get what 14 or something. So the kind of form was there. But then people
Yeah.
were saying, "Oh, well, it's a player that's only ever captain, only ever scored one goal in the Prem. It was too risky." Don't know.
Yeah,
Hindsight,
I
whatever.
don't know. It's super frustrating because even if he'd just got one return, I think that would have been absolutely fine in the double. But and I think if you'd asked somebody to put a fiver on whether he'd get an assist or a goal, I think you'd have said he would in those two games. But it wasn't to be. Burnley's kind of good run has come to an end, and I think there'll be a lot more people if on the free hit, if they had Pope in goal and me in defence, etc. Then I think there's going to be a lot more people who are a bit grumpier about that. But I was speaking to Tom last night about Weghorst and just saying, just having him maybe, and I know it's all hindsight, but just having him maybe was enough. And captaining somebody else. But I think we probably need to try and remember that this week, because I think captain is a very difficult decision this week, and there's the chance to either make up a load of ground or to definitely lose some ground if you get that decision wrong. But yeah, obviously now I really wish that I'd captained Son. But again, I mean, in that Leeds game, I wasn't watching it, but I was following it, and it didn't look like Son was going to get anything, and then obviously he got that
True.
very late goal.
Yeah.
So you're looking at 9 points now, and I'm very glad that he got that. But I was pretty gutted towards the end of the game, so I didn't think he was going to do anything.
I thought you were going to drop the massive bit of insight there that we got to be careful not to captain Weghorst this week. But yeah, he's going to be pretty
Well,
split this week, isn't it?
you know me. I like to come with the very obvious. But yeah, that would definitely be my recommendation, not to captain Weghorst this week.
And the other thing I was laughing about was you were mid sentence then, and you were just sitting on the video, just completely silent, just nodding along. Obviously, what I was chatting about 2 minutes before. So this is not going to make a lot of sense to people on the video.
No, the video is terrible. We should probably just turn me off and replace me with that screenshot we've taken. Maybe we'll do that next week until I get better internet.
Just a token, yeah, a token picture. So yeah, you had 50 minus 4, so I mean, still pretty good for not a free hit. You're 1.8k, so you're doing pretty nice. Foster on the bench, there were 10. Was that any at all close? I mean, they had United pretty
No,
big
it
swing there,
wasn't.
wasn't it?
It wasn't close at all. I mean, I actually kept De Gea to be able to play him for that Watford game, and because I had Foster for the double,
Mm-hmm.
and then I kept De Gea so that I could do this. And it sounds like United should have scored in that game. And it
Yeah,
sounds like Fernandez definitely should have scored in that game. So that's pretty annoying, because obviously I did that hokey cokey and kept Fernandez for the Watford game, and now I'm going to get rid of him. But that would have obviously been a big swing if Foster had not got those points. I wouldn't see him smiling at me from the bench, and Fernandez would have hauled, which would have been great.
did you see Gianni's non-free hit? I think he had like 67 or something. He
Oh,
had
did he?
a video with
Nice.
Scout with Az, yeah, and I keep name dropping him because he's on the same strategy as me. Well, at least in terms of wildcard, I think he's got 2 free hits rather than my one. But yeah, we will come on to that shortly. Well, yeah, over to the free hit stuff. Over to you.
Yeah, I mean, I had a red arrow this week, but I think it could have been much worse. So just sharing this because somebody in the Slack channel that I'm in shared this Kings of the Game week. Obviously, we're just giving Budweiser some free advertising here to our army of subscribers. But I just thought it was really funny because obviously Twitter and everywhere else was just absolutely full of these template free hits and everybody having the exact same team and having free City, Mahrez, Sterling, etc. This particular free hit team that I picked out of one of my leagues had Kane up front. I don't think everybody did manage to get the 2 Spurs in there, but this one did. So Kane did well, but the 3 Burnley, Pope in goal, Burnley defender, Weghorst captain. This was kind of the template free hit.
Yeah.
As I say, this one got 60 points mainly because of Kane, but there were some others just that were pretty disastrous, really. And I think people were pretty annoyed about it. And I think on the left here, you just, we look at this every week and you see kind of the team that does the best. And there's always some absolutely random people in it. And you might look at the team that actually was the best team of that week. And, they're ranked 7 millionth or 8 millionth or something. And they've obviously just set up just for that week and picked it on an algorithm or something. But, if that had been your free hit team for 27, everybody would have laughed at you and said that team looks awful. But you'd have been laughing all the way into the top 1K probably with that, wouldn't you? So
Yeah, I mean, Walker Peters and Kane are the only 2 on the left image that were fairly well backed. Villa defence was pretty well backed, and it's pretty frustrating that Dean is, including myself, quite well owned, but he did nothing. But then Cash and Mings, they got an attack in return as well, so that's quite a big swing. But yeah, the rest are just, no one's going to have them. Well, Foster, to be fair, quite a few, some on their bench, but yeah, probably can't read too much into like Kings of the Week on the left, but yeah, it was certainly a bit of an unlucky one. I think it's just the variance, isn't it? I think of that strategy just seems to have not come up trumps.
No, exactly, and I think there'll be a lot of people who were thinking it was the ticket, but it obviously didn't work out this week. But as is free hitting this week, I think I am going to have to free hit in 30, although I'm not particularly excited about it. But
interesting. I have come to a similar 60-40 decision at the moment. I've got some slides about that. But yeah, should we move on there?
Yeah, let's do it.
I was wondering actually, so the right-hand image, sorry, is just one that you picked up from your Slack channel rather than, I thought it might be some statistical, free hit, active manager type thing. But it does seem pretty typical.
I'm not that technical, Shlee. I literally went into one of my leagues. And so somebody who's in one of my leagues, if they actually do watch this, they might be able to think, hang on a minute, that's my team. But yeah, I just went and looked at one and thought, yep, that looks like your classic free hit, 27.
Yeah, fair. Someone you're stalking. Okay. Always find this quite useful. What's happening in the top 10K, courtesy of Ragaboli's site. Reminder that Salah 266 EO 1 week ago. On the left is the top 10K ownership, and on the right is for this week. And then Weghorst sort of jumping to 158%, which is mad. I mean, that was another reason why I was quite glad to captain Weghorst, because I don't like owning someone who you actually want to blank, but he was so well captained and owned. Obviously, in hindsight, too much of a swing, but I was quite pleased with that. And then on the right hand image, the number of people that paid a chip in that week. And yeah, 45% of the top 10K dropped their free hit, so it was definitely a bit of a one to swerve, because that could have been a lot more powerful.
Yeah, no, indeed. I just, you look at that Weghorst effective ownership, just how many people captained him was just mad, wasn't it? I did say I thought that his EO would be over 100%.
Yeah, and I think
just because so many people would have brought him in on free hit captain. Yeah, I think I didn't want to say, but I think you did. You did say there's no way, because I think he was like 2% owned or 3% owned.
Yeah.
Do you want to just kill my camera here, Shlee? Because
he's just finding it very distracting.
Getting angry looks. Yeah, and I'm getting angry looks from the missus that the internet's not working. So I feel like if we kill my video, it might actually.
Okay. How am I best to do that? I can just delete
if you just delete, maybe. If you just delete that slide, that box out of the slide from this as we move down it, and I'll stop my camera. There we go.
The other thing I like to do sometimes with the middle image here is just look down and think, right, who am I worried that I don't own? I mean, Fernandez 50% owned, B blanked, and obviously rubbish fixtures, so that's a good example of someone I'm not too bothered about. But the first person I don't own down this list currently, well, I'm probably going to get rid of Son, but that'll be for Salah. I mean, the next one is me, Mahrez, Pope. So I guess that says I'm kind of got a template-ish team, but there's going to be a lot of hits and stuff in play here, so maybe quite hard to predict what the risks are going to be next week. But I think that's kind of reassuring.
Yeah, it's that double-edged sword, though, isn't it? Because if you've got everybody on that list, then your team's very template, isn't it? So.
True. Yeah. Okay, let's move on. This is a bit distracting not being able to see, but we'll carry on.
Yeah, just give me 1 second, Shley. I'll be back in a minute. If you talk through this, I'll be back as soon as I can. Hang on.
Okay. So the next slide we've got is one that Nick sent over courtesy of FPL Spaceman, which I did see on Twitter as well today, which is quite interesting, which is a Venn diagram for all those mathematicians out there of what teams double in 28 compared with double in 29 compared with blank in 30. So it's quite good. It's just a quick look up of, right, I need a doubler, say, for game week 28 doubling and 29, and the only team there is Newcastle. Or you might be thinking, yeah, I need someone that doubles in 29, blanks in 30, and that's Arsenal and Spurs. So quite interesting amount of overlap of different teams and what they're all looking like for the next few games in terms of doubles and blanks. And then the disclaimer there of what happens tonight with Everton and Boreham Wood in the FA Cup as to whether Everton and Watford go ahead in 30. But yeah, for sure the FA Cup this week has meant that all the 30 blanks and fixtures are pretty much now settled apart from that one fixture.
I am back. I'm sorry about that, actually.
That's right. I think I just explained this slide. But yeah, I saw this morning and thought this was quite nice. And then when you sent it through, that was quite a good one to discuss. Did you have a specific point on it?
No, I just think, I mean, it's good for planning, isn't it? Because I think, if you're not planning to free hit in 30 as I am, you can kind of see the teams easily that are playing there. And I think obviously I think you've probably just explained through all of this, but you're going to target Arsenal, Spurs, Wolves, Villa, Leeds on you. That'd be the sensible thing. I mean, I think Villa's fixtures turned really nasty after 30, so I'll probably target those guys last. Maybe we can kind of chat about people like Coutinho a bit later on, but I was originally thinking of getting Coutinho in this week if I wasn't going to free hit in 30, but I just he's kind of dropped off quite a lot, I think, and Villa obviously had a decent result last game, but they haven't really convinced me yet that they're turning it around. And so I think I am looking at Rafinha as well from Leeds. Obviously I've got 2 Wolves players already, so I'm happy about that. I haven't got any Arsenal, and I've only got 1 Spurs player. So I think we'll see later, but I think I'm going to have to free hit in 30, but maybe you can tell me a different route maybe.
Yeah, I'm 60-40 as I said, so I've got some reasons why I'm inkling towards it, having thought, I think a couple of weeks ago, definitely, or maybe even last week, that I wasn't going to. As I still think I'm probably going to not make the call until the week before, but because anything could happen, and at the moment things are very much week to week. But yeah, there's a few reasons why I think I will.
Well, you will free hit in 30.
Yeah, that's where I'm swinging slightly, 60%, 40%, yeah. I think. Right, the next thing we've got here is from Mikhail Tokvam on Twitter, which is this beautiful matrix of the likelihood of the number of games for each team in each game week. So in game week 30, for example, Leicester have got a value of 1 because they've definitely got a game, and there's no chance that will be changing, unless something mad like snow or COVID. But in game week 33, they've got a 1.95 game percentage, so they're likely to have 2 games. So this is really handy for me when I was thinking about the free hit and what might be coming up, in that game and afterwards. Might refer back to this, but I put a few of these sort of probabilities into my ticker, and it's kind of useful just to see what might become a blank, especially in 33 as well. So at the moment he's got the blanks of 33 of Villa, Leeds and Wolves only having about a 50 to 80% chance of going ahead, which is interesting because a few weeks ago I was thinking of not free hitting in 30 because I was really scared of 33. If you remember, we were chatting about Planet FPL James highlighting that 33 was going to be really hard to navigate, lots of blanks, but then also a few doubles, and we were thinking, oh, that would be great for the free hit. But I think looking at this, it doesn't now look as scary. And I did tweet him earlier to ask, turn my phone off, sorry. What, so unprofessional. Darren's going to be absolutely livid.
It's very Planet FPL, that, isn't it? Every single episode. I feel like they do it on purpose now, but Suj's phone goes off every episode and James is livid every time it happens. He tries to laugh it off, but he's livid.
All right, I haven't seen his face. Sorry about that. I mean, I can't see your face apart from 30 seconds ago.
No, exactly. 30 seconds ago, I felt fine about your phone not going off.
What was my point? Yeah, but now, and I did tweet Mikel earlier, but he hasn't replied, and that was to ask him, why has the likelihood of the blanks in 33 changed so much? Because only 4 days ago, I think Liverpool were, I think they were like 0.7 or something, and now they're over 1. So I think the FA Cup has really swung things, maybe for the better, in terms of 33, for it not being such a nasty one to navigate. So I think I don't need a free hit to get through 33 currently.
Well, I absolutely love this, and this is exactly what I need, because if I'm weighing up the free hit in 30, because I've only got one free hit left. So if I'm weighing up the free hit in 30 versus what could potentially come in 33, again, I was listening to, I think it was on Black Box today, they were talking about it. But this idea of having, in fact, it may even have been FPL Raptor. I think I listened to him for the first time today. And he was talking about his plan is to free hit in 33, because obviously if you've got players in 33 who blank, then you're going to, it'd be lovely to swap loads of them for players who double. So it's just that, it's that double-edged sword in 33, whereas obviously in 30, you're just swapping non-playing players for players who've got one game.
Yeah.
But I just love, I'm going to pore over this before I make my transfers this week. And before I decide whether I'm going to free hit in 30 or 33, because as you say, you can now look at 33. I mean, it depends how accurate this is, and I'm just going to rely on Mikel, Mr. Tokvam, to be right on this, I guess, and probably not do my own research, which is not smart. But yeah, obviously, if I'm going to bring in, you look on here, I've got one Tottenham player. I'm not going to have many players doubling in 33, but I'm going to also look at the teams that are likely to blank. So maybe I won't bring Rafinha in if I think, that I'm going to play the free hit in 30 and then won't have it for 33, for example. So I need to do that on a kind of team by team basis or player by player basis, and then make my decisions from there. So I love this.
Yeah, it is good, isn't it?
Very
that
cool.
will suggest you're going to take a hit this week again, whereas I'm really going to try and resist.
Yeah, and this is the thing. I mean, I think you're probably going to try and talk me out of it, which is going to be a good thing. But we'll have to have a look at it.
Okay. Right, this is one of the slides where your face disappears because there's a couple of things, but this is just more to refer back to. I thought maybe we might be making defensive moves this week or thinking about it, so I put my defense ticker up, and also just on the right, the numbers that go into it. Well, certainly the sort of middle bit. And for those listening, it's just a ticker similar to on FF Scout and stuff, but the one I make has this information going into it, which is the home and the away non-penalty XG for every team, and also the home and away form for each team. So hopefully that accounts for, I don't know, a team that's got a ridiculously good XG, but they've just been really unlucky or something and just haven't been able to convert results. And the big standout here for 28 especially is this 28 double for Chelsea. 2 blue fixtures, albeit them away. They are the best for 28, and over the next 8 I've got them the second best team, Arsenal being the first in terms of their fixture difficulty for defenders and goalies.
So you build the spreadsheet on the right and you feed in all of the XG and XA or the XG and XGC numbers in there, and then it populates the colors for you on the left, does it? So that's,
yeah, it's a bit manual and hydraulic, but yeah.
How many different shades of blue do you have, Ashley?
As many as the Excel conditional formatting says. Yeah, I like the red to blue. Is that a joke about 50 Shades of Grey, or?
No, it's just the fact that obviously it's these colors make it so much easier to see. But yeah, it's just
how blue does it go?
Yeah.
For each week there is always a fixture that is uber blue and always a fixture that's uber red.
Okay. So it's basically just picking the best and the worst almost, and then everything
for each game week. I did think about doing it, for the whole block, but then it does then go very 50 Shades of Grey, and there's loads of white in the middle. But it would be really interesting to do that, because it would then show what I think I'm coming to a bit later is the fact that I think the 30 fixtures, although they don't look great, my attack stats suggest that actually they are quite good.
Yeah.
So we'll come to that in a moment. But yeah, this was there in case you're thinking of making a defence transfer. Are you thinking of making a defence transfer, Nick Hughes?
Yes, I am.
By Chelsea, aren't you?
I'm thinking of making 2 defence transfers. So let me have a quick look at this. You've got Man City, who are pink against United, and they've already got a single. Then the Crystal Palace fixture is blue for them, so that's good. And then they obviously don't play in 30, but what have they got after that? So they've got Burnley blue, then Liverpool, then Wolves. Interesting to see that Wolves is blue, but I guess Wolves attack is terrible, which is why City
their
are
form's good
expected
at home, but their attack is awful. And away, City's XGC is outrageously good. It's the best in the league, actually.
Yeah. Whereas you look at Chelsea, interesting now though, isn't it? Because I love your ticker, the way that it's taking into account, people will say, oh, Newcastle are better since the transfer window and since Eddie Howe came in and since the club's, on the up now. Your ticker shows that, because Newcastle, when you see a Newcastle at home fixture for Chelsea, you think, oh, because we've seen it over the years, it should be an easy fixture. Whereas your ticker shows it as pretty neutral and slightly on the blue side, but
I mean, Newcastle's form is really good home and away. They've almost got, well, I've boosted it slightly because Howe's come in, but it's one of the best in the league home and away.
Yeah. But then that Brentford fixture looks like the bluest fixture in that week. Brentford at home. I'm just, because that's quite nice to know now, because now your eye can just look out for what is the deepest blue that week.
For 30, sorry.
In 31, Chelsea Brentford.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And then so I'm just looking, because I'm comparing City defenders to Chelsea defenders. But yeah, this is very, very helpful again.
Are you thinking of taking a -8 then?
Well, we might have to come to that again. I think you will probably successfully talk me out of it. I think I've started to talk myself out of it as well, to be honest. But
okay, so this is the attack ticker, same sort of idea, but I've put your face back. And the one thing I'm looking at here, I mean, my move at the moment, I'm thinking, is Son to Salah, which is a very blue to a very blue. But I think I'm gonna, my thought process at the moment is I'm gonna not risk it and just captain Salah this week. And so I think that move is worth it, because if worst case I don't have Son next week, I do have Kane for their double. But at the moment I don't have Liverpool. I don't have Salah for his double next week, which is a risk I can't take. And I have the exact money to do that, so I do need to check tonight if there's any price swings, but I think it should be fine.
Given that I understand the point if you've got exact money and you're worried about being priced out of it for next week, but if money wasn't an issue and you had, say, 0.5 to play with, would you consider keeping Son for Everton at home, risk not having Salah for West Ham, and then do the switch next week because you think Liverpool's double slightly better? Or
interesting. That no, that hasn't crossed my mind. If I had more money, would I wait? No, I don't think so. If I had more money, that would probably more make me likely to swap Jota to Salah, which needs a -8, and keep Son. But I don't love it. But I'm thinking that Jota might be the differential that I keep for the double next week, depending on is it Inter they got next week, how much he plays on the weekend, and Inter, and maybe I get 2 games out of him. But I would, to be honest, like Robertson. As I said last week or the week before, I'd be copying you there, but he's the best third option, I think.
Interesting though, isn't it? Because we did say, obviously that Liverpool double is difficult with 2 away games, and they're not easy teams, so maybe they won't rotate. But Tsimikas is a very good understudy now for Robertson, isn't he? So Robertson isn't assured of getting both of those games full minutes. True. And Jota, like we were saying last week, a lot of people will have got rid of Jota now. He could be a massive differential for the 29 double, couldn't he?
Yeah, but then Tsimikas got the game in the cup, didn't he? So is that his game for the next few? And he's, Klopp's just going to go back to flogging his 11.
Maybe because the league is on now, so they cannot afford to drop any points, can they? So maybe they do just have to play the first team, and Robertson's pretty fit, isn't he? So.
And it would obviously be swapping a midfielder for a defender if I went from Jota to Robertson. So that's quite a few transfers. So it's not ideal.
Yeah. No. I would potentially keep Jota because I don't think there's much between them. I think you're right. Jota is slightly more of a minutes risk, but again, his stats are so good. He can score off the bench, and
yeah,
I don't know. If it saves you transfers, I'd probably just keep Jota.
Yeah, and in the back of my mind a little bit, I have got that when people are throwing chips around, and that's fine. People have got the different strategies to us that I'm thinking of. Double down is the wrong word, but trying to be no hits if possible. And this week it worked out pretty well. I only took a -4, and if I got the captain a bit better, I would have been absolutely flying. So I think the team is all right. On the other hand, sometimes I do think I've been quite lucky, and my team is showing a few cracks, and it doesn't look like a team that was wildcarded a few weeks ago. So maybe I do need to freshen it up a bit. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's really difficult, isn't it? Because the antithesis to that, I guess, is that this week with and this has been a very strange season, but with Liverpool not having a fixture at all and me having 3 Liverpool, if I hadn't made the Salah to Son transfer, I would have been in a much worse position. But then at the same time, I shouldn't have made the Broja transfer in because he didn't get a return. So I do think, I took a -8 and obviously I got a slight red, or actually fairly major red at my rank. But if I hadn't done anything, the red would have been even more severe, wouldn't it? So.
Right. Sorry, was that last week? I must have got that wrong. I thought you took a -4. Yours 50
No,
-8, was it?
last week I think it was a minus.
Are you sure?
Oh no, maybe it was. No, it was.
That.
No, you're right. Sorry, it was a -4. It was a -4.
Did you have 2 frees though? Did you make 3 moves?
No, I made 2 moves, but I only had I had Broja in for João Pedro and Son for Salah. But
Right.
I think I've just got it in my head that it's a -8 because obviously I have to go back to Salah. But
Yeah,
no,
okay.
you're right. It was a -4 last week, and it marginally worked out. But obviously I've still got to get Salah back in. So.
Yeah. But in the same way, well, I'll come to your moves in a bit. I was going to ask you the same Salah question. You maybe don't have the money for that. And scout tickets here in case we need stuff until 38, but I'm afraid it's pretty difficult to read because they sort of structure it differently, so the tiles are pretty small.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot going on with this slide, which is, do we free hit in game week 30? So what I did was, there's quite a lot of numbers here. On the left,
no, I need this is perfect. I need this.
On the left is my current team with Son to Salah applied, which I'm 99% sure I'm going to do this week. And how many points, according to FF Scout, rate my team computer in the members area, I will get in game week 30. And that with a Kane captain is 29, let's say.
Yeah.
And then I, in 5 minutes, looked at the team that I would quickly put together on a free hit and how many points would that score in game week 30 based on the big scorers on the right for points in game week 30. So the likelihood is that Son's going to be the highest point scorer, then Kane, Vardy, Jimenez. Put all those in and then just put a sprinkling of other people, and that comes to 53.
Yep.
So in black and white and with no transfers applied between now and 30, obviously we'll have 1 or 2 at least, I will be gaining 24 points on a free hit, which isn't amazing, but what are my alternatives? I play it in 33. Can I guarantee I'm going to get a 24-point swing in game week 33? I'm not sure, because I'm not going to be swapping blanks for playing players. I might be swapping a couple of blanks for maybe a couple of doubles, but here I've got on the left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 blankers. Obviously 3 on the bench, 4 on the bench including the goalie. So I'm going to be swapping 4 zeros for 4 hopefully big numbers. And the other thing I just wanted to highlight, which is at the top, which is, this is getting a bit meta, but this is the average fixture difficulty of fixtures in each game week according to my ticker. So this mean column in the middle, so for game week 28, the mean difficulty for attack is, let's say, 11, 10.9. For next week it's 10.2. So if I had to guess, I'd say there's going to be less attacking returns in 29 than there is 28. But on 30, it jumps up to be the highest number between game week 28 and game week 36, which tells me that somehow, although the fixtures don't look great for 30, and I agree when people are reading them out and discussing them, they're not great. This suggests that there is a bigger attacking swing for that game week than others. And so that again leads me to the free
because
hit.
you've got high performing attacks against low performing defenses.
Yeah, exactly. So put another way, going back to this ticker, if you average the difficulties of the game week 30 attack fixtures, and it looks like there's blues and reds in here because the way it's formatted, that is true. But the average of these is more for those 8 games in 30, 8 games, than it is for the 15 fixtures in 29 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I find that, that's where stats, and as you say, are getting a bit meta. That seems to me to be quite difficult to believe when you're looking at like Chelsea having a double against Norwich and Burnley, and you've got Liverpool, West Ham. Again, I'm a little bit surprised that on your ticker, but it's again why I love your ticker, is the West Ham fixture looks so blue for Liverpool, but obviously it just shows how good Liverpool's attack is, and West Ham's defense has been not performing incredibly well recently. So, but yeah, I just think there are some really good fixtures this week. Obviously you've got Arsenal, Watford. I know Watford have been a little bit more difficult to break down under Hodgson, but what else have we got in? Maybe that's it. Maybe I'm just totally blinded by the fact that we've got Chelsea, Burnley, Norwich, but you've also got Tottenham, Everton. Whereas in 30, will it be something to do with the fact that you're only analysing a smaller number of fixtures?
No, so I've meaned it over the amount. So the number of games are in the second column of that top table. So 8 games in game week 30. I've averaged it.
So maybe that's why. Maybe that's why it's a bit more extreme. Whereas if you, for example, if you pick like the best 3 fixtures for teams in that week versus the best 3 fixtures for teams in 28, you'd get different numbers. But that is interesting though, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right. You went down the thought process I did. I wanted almost to know the top 4 or 5 fixtures, but my Excel skills failed at that point.
My Excel skills would have failed long before that. So the fact that you got there, no, it's interesting. The one thing that would be interesting though now, and again, this would probably take a long time to do, but and I don't suggest we do it now, but almost to do the same analysis for game week 33. And obviously there's a lot more variables between now and then, but because as you said, you'd be swapping you could be swapping potential blank players for doublers.
Sure.
That would have a massive effect, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So it almost looks like you've got more blankers than me now for 30, but I guess maybe that makes sense if I'm taking big hits in different weeks to try and bring more people in.
I've got 7.
Are you therefore thinking you would look at 30 with the team on the left and say, do you know what, I'm just not going to play it, and I'm just going to have 7 players or 8 players or something?
It's not out of the question, but I've got a few risky 30 players like Martinelli and Harrison and Ait-Nouri who I've got a game on paper, but are they going to be in the first team by then?
Yeah, and I think that'd be pretty devastating to go into that week with 5 players or something.
Yeah, exactly. And it wouldn't be, it could be that bad. And I think as well, it's a bit about momentum. It was interesting with Tom last night, him saying, he's got all these chips and he just needs to get a boost because, his 300k rank or whatever, if it makes you feel better about yourself, and it's easier to maybe defend the lead than try and chase. I don't know. So
it's also just that we don't know what we don't know. So in game week 30, although I really like that, the sheet that you showed before, that will allow me to do some analysis for 33, is that we just don't know. So even now, I was jealous of Tom last night wildcarding because the FA Cup games are done, and so we, other than Everton, but we know what the fixtures are going to be in game week 30 now, and that is it's so nice to be able to make decisions with the actual proper information.
Agreed. But you also just slightly in your head comparing that with yours and I's situation when we wildcarded blindly a bit, and maybe just being a bit.
Yeah, you think I had hardly any information when I wildcarded. I was actually very, very fortunate that it worked out. But I had looked at game week 28 for a while just because I could see the Arsenal fixture swing, the Wolves fixture swing, the Chelsea fixture swing, and so that was the thing that had originally attracted me to 28. So I do think it will go quite well for people who wildcard this week. And I think obviously things like the Chelsea double, the Arsenal double next week, the Liverpool double, all those things will actually compound that. So I do expect people who wildcard this week to do better maybe than people who wildcarded in 26.
Yeah.
So
the only other thing I wanted to mention on this, which is another thing that sways me, I think this probably makes me maybe the 60-40, but maybe I'm talking myself into 65-35 here, is that on the right hand image with the highest likely point scorers in 30, the structure of that to get Son, Kane, Vardy, Jimenez, look at that front three you're going to have. That is an expensive forward line. How the heck are you going to get that unless you free hit or wild card very close to it? You're not going to get Kane, Vardy, and Jimenez without removing Salah and Trent, probably for most teams, and freeing up that cash. So it's all very well saying, "Oh, I'll get that team for 30," but unless you free hit, you're going to have to do some major surgery to do it.
And this is the thing. I think this actually, and even seeing that, because if you go into that week with Kane, Vardy, and Son, I mean, can you afford them? Yeah, you've put them all into your team in the middle, haven't you?
Yeah, and there's loads of money left. I've got like 2 mil in the bank left here. 100 mil.
That actually makes me think, and this is that thing. Every week, a free hit team looks amazing because you're picking it out and you're picking the best players. But even the fact that Vardy's come back into the team and has scored and assisted, it means that Leicester game looks a lot better now for 430. I think this is probably convincing me to free hit in 30, because I think even if in 33 there are some people with blanks, there aren't going to be as many people with blanks, and there might be decent single game weekers that week that you're not so afraid of playing versus some people who free hit and get 11 doublers out.
Well, that's
so
one of the other
I think
things
this is actually.
I think in 33, some of the fixtures, I think we looked at this a few weeks ago, that the fixtures don't scream out as being that nice. So I've just got the attack ticker back up there. United Norwich is the most blue, so that is a worry. I mean, I haven't got any United at the moment. City Wolves, that traditionally is a tricky fixture for City. Liverpool Villa, return of Gerrard to Anfield, that could be quite tight. Chelsea have got Leeds, that could be bad. Yeah, I don't know.
You'd
It's kind
expect.
of nibblish.
But for example, you would expect, I mean, Leeds, we don't know what they're going to do under this new manager. They could get worse, or they could improve massively. So we don't know necessarily what they're going to be like in 33. But the only fixture that really stands out there for me is United Norwich. And I don't, and maybe that will suit. I would think anybody who free hits in 33 is going to have 3 United. They're going to have Bruno. They might have Ronaldo again by that point, and they might have, a Sancho or a defender. But again, United are not what they were. They're not even what they were under Solskjaer for large periods. And so it's one game that you've got to survive. And yeah, maybe Bruno goes off big in that game, but it's that other thing where if you just want to cover that off, you can maybe make that as your one transfer that week to bring in Bruno for Son, who have Tottenham got Brighton at home. So I don't know.
But yeah, tricky.
No, it's not ideal. And this is the thing. So it is making me think though that just seeing the free hit team for 30 that you've built, that probably is the best way for me to carry on. I mean, in fact, we'll see, because I think if we get to the tinkering later, we'll see what my potential team could be like, and that's even taking quite big hits to try and prepare for 30, and I just don't really like it. So
yeah,
because that's the other nice thing, is if you make a decision to free hit in 30, then you can then make your transfers almost, you can forget the blanks in 30 when you're making your transfers, because I think for the past, however many weeks, 5-6 weeks since we knew that there were going to be blanks in 30, or we knew who they were going to be, almost every time I've thought about a transfer, I've also been like, oh, they're going to play in 30. But obviously, if I'm going to free hit in 30 and I commit to that as we get closer to it, then I can bring in a Chelsea defender this week and not worry too much about the fact that they don't play in 30.
I wouldn't. I'm not sure that I'd say that because I'm going to free hit in 30, that means I've got the green light to go Chelsea defence. Yeah, it sways it a little bit. I still think I'm going to keep it quite open, but I know what you mean. When I wildcarded, 4 weeks ago, I was thinking, right, I've got to cover 30, and I said at the time, I'm pretty sure on the same episode, that in seasons gone by, I've been blinkered with that sort of thing, that especially when it's really changeable, you can't be planning that far ahead. You've got to be aware a little bit, and if there's a 50-50 call, fine, but me going Harrison because he had a game week in 30, all those weeks ago, was a ridiculous decision. And probably a bad example, but that did come into it a little bit. I thought, oh, Leeds play is great because of 30.
Yeah, but interesting though, because when you showed your free, your potential for the free hit without making transfers or whatever, you've only got 7 players or something.
Well, yeah, true.
So,
but I thought again, yeah, I think I remember saying that I thought that would be about okay. But now when I actually do the maths, my 7 with 29 points could go to 53, and that is quite a big swing.
I mean I always had a little bit of a problem with the rate my team on Scout, because it is just somebody's kind of opinion of those games. I mean, they've got Kane there getting 5.15 points. Is that doubled? Is that already doubled as captain?
No.
Oh, okay, that's not double. Fine. Well, yeah, maybe that is fair then. A fair average of what he might
At least
get. But he
they're
could also
comparing the
get
same with the same, isn't it?
12, couldn't he?
Oh, of course, yeah. Yeah. Right. Should we move on?
Yes, indeed. Oh, just one thing on that. I mean, I guess if you do go into game week 30 and you've only got 8 or 9 players, again, most weeks, we'll have at least kind of 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 blankers in our team, and it might be like one captain or a couple of players who do well, and that is the difference that you need. So you're obviously reducing your potential for getting lucky and for getting points, but it is survivable potentially with, if I can get to kind of 8 or 9, then I probably will try and save it for 33. But if I'm just making too many compromises on transfers, then I think I will just use it in 30.
Yeah. The quick thing I saw when we were looking at the ticker before we move on is the fact that Salah and Liverpool have got Watford in 31. So if you are thinking about getting rid of Salah to free up cash to do some 30 stuff, you're definitely going to want him back straight away.
No, and that's the thing.
1% swing towards free hit, I think.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, because you look at Villa, and one of the transfers I was considering getting in was kind of Coutinho in for this week for the double, and then he's got a fixture in 30. But I don't want him after that. So whereas if I free hit in 30, I can have Coutinho potentially, although it doesn't look like you've gone for him in your draft here. Actually, your draft looks really nice, but then I don't want him after that. And obviously that's the other benefit of the free hit, is you're not then stuck with those players in your team.
Yeah, I mean, it does appear on the right hand image a bit further down. I mean, these purple players might go with tonight's Everton Boreham Wood game, but yeah, he didn't quite make it ahead of Maddison. But yeah, he's in the running for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, this is another quick slide where you disappear a moment. So this is my brain dump of what I am thinking of doing this week. So on the left, I've got my team for 28 as it stands, and I've also put into FPL.team what that would mean for 29, because that's obviously pretty important. There's doubles this week and next week. The table I had before, I've also got of what I'm considering in terms of people to get rid of in 28, people to buy in 28, and then the same for 29. And then a couple of things I tweeted this week, because I was really umming and ahhing last week about whether I should lose Kane to get Salah this week, which would obviously be a -4 because of the position switch. But if you look at the raw numbers, that is actually quite a tricky decision. This is what the bits on the right are showing, which I can go through.
Are they potential points from FF Scout again?
No, this is this is performance historically against the same. Sorry, this one here below my face is the historic returns against the same opponents. It's quite small,
nice.
I'm afraid. But that suggests that Salah against West Ham is a beast compared to Kane and Son against who have they
Everton.
got? Everton. Thanks. And then in 29, it's pretty even Stevens. In fact, Kane has got the best historic points performance against Brighton and United, is it? But on average, this suggests over the next 3 in order, you should have Salah, then Kane, then Son. So that leans me and makes me happy to do the Son Salah move, which I've got in my mind. However, if you look at the season so far in terms of points home and away, of which Spurs have got home fixture this week, this suggests you should keep Son, because Son massively outperforms Kane. In fact, Kane's home scoring this season is outrageously low compared to everyone else. Salah home and away, Son home and away.
Yeah, but if this is all season, I mean, Kane has looked so different in the past sort of 5 game weeks, hasn't he?
True. And the other thing I see is that people that wildcard in this week, they tend to more likely have Kane than Son. So I think
Yeah.
all in all, what I'm saying with all this, and I'll put your face back because I'll get rid of those historic bits.
You
We've
don't
just
you
kind of
don't
been
need
a
to
bit
put my face back. It's very laggy anyway, so it's probably saving people the annoyance of that.
is that I'll do Son to Salah. That would leave me with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 doublers this week. I'd probably captain Salah, I think. The only temptation is my bench a bit strong. The stats suggest that this is a good one to bench boost if I was
Is
to
it
do it.
is it is it five doublers this week? You're only showing 4, and Salah's not doubling, is he? So
Oh yeah, good point. Sorry, yes, you're right. 4.
4
Yeah,
doublers.
yeah, which is pretty low. That's probably where you're going to talk me into a hit. I can't do Laporte
Well,
to a
it's low.
Chelsea.
It's low. It's also made slightly lower by the fact that Harrison is one of them. But I
Yeah,
guess with the
and
new
Eight
manager
Nori.
and Harrison being and Eight Nori as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think Eight Nori's going to play. I think Eight Nori will play, especially because they're 2 home games. But again, he might not play both, right? But
yeah. I could do actually. I said I couldn't get a Chelsea player, and I could do Laporte to Thiago Silva. I think I can afford him, and I am benching Laporte for the next 2 weeks, which is a bit annoying. That's quite a lot of cash on the bench.
oh, and you obviously can't afford to do Laporte up to James or Rudiger.
Correct.
Yeah, because Thiago Silva, I do worry about. He does just miss the odd game, doesn't he? Because
Does
he's
he?
just that bit older.
I've really not looked into the Chelsea defence too much, just because I just don't think I can get there, which has been quite liberating in a way, because I see a lot of people stressing about if James is going to play and what's going to happen.
I know James is really stressful because if he plays both games, we all know what he can do. He is an absolute beast.
Yeah,
But what they were saying on Black Box was just that they're not convinced. I think Praz in particular was saying he's just not convinced that he's going to play both games. And it is stressful because if I do take a -8 and then he doesn't even play one of the games and then he blanks in the other, that's going to be super frustrating. But I would still be happy to own him longer term because I do think he's absolutely brilliant, Reece James.
what would you do looking at this and looking at my team next week? Because it looks all right. I think it's 6 doublers, but one's Martinelli, one's a single Harrison at Norwich. On paper the fixtures are all right. And maybe I'm just been a bit too
I
conservative here.
I would be worried about only having 4 doublers and one of them being Harrison. I think 8 Nori is okay. I wouldn't be that stressed about that, but I would be slightly stressed about Harrison. But I would probably take a -4, and I would probably. It's so difficult because the Son to Salah move, you've already kind of said why you need to do it, but obviously Salah's not doubling and he's playing West Ham. But would you captain Salah above all the other players if you brought him in? I guess you would if you're captaining Kane at the moment.
I think so, yeah. I think I would. But again, what would you do?
Well, I would potentially try and get the funds to get to either Rudiger or Reece James from Laporte, and so I would make another move that would allow that. I'm just trying to see. It doesn't look like it's obvious where you would get that money from. Could you
De Gea
do?
to Foster is the option.
What about Harrison down to Ramsey?
Yeah,
Because
could do
Ramsey's
that
got
as
an
well. Yeah.
Because Ramsey is I think he's a certain starter. He can be quite explosive, although people are saying he's playing that bit deeper. But Harrison is your I think one of your biggest issues. And you know me, actually, I like a bit of chess. So I like to, and I'm not very good at chess. So I try and solve the problem in hand, which usually leads me to get defeated by players who are looking further ahead. But Harrison, I think, is a bit of a problem. So if you go Harrison down to Ramsey, and then you can do Laporte up to Rudiger, or hopefully Rudiger or Reece James, and you can kind of stress along with the rest of us on that decision. But that gives you, that kind of removes one of your potential doublers for a more certain doubler with better fixtures, and it gives you that Chelsea defender.
Interesting.
But it is a -4. And then who would you? And then who would you? Who
That's
would
a
you bench?
-4 without Salah.
Right, it's a -4 without Salah. Yeah.
In fact, I wouldn't need to. I wouldn't need to free up the cash there for that. And I was thinking more, why would I not do Bowen? If you think Ramsey is important, I'm not disagreeing, but Bowen to Ramsey would be better, no?
Yeah, true. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, probably Bowen to
I'm
Ramsey is
benching him
probably
this
better,
week.
and then you can maybe get Bowen back in at some point because isn't Bowen has a fixture in 30, doesn't he? So I think if you did make those moves, although Ramsey does as well, I think you're probably then locking in the free hit for 30, aren't you, with those moves?
Sorry, if I did what moves? Ramsey.
So if you did Bowen to Ramsey, you're basically replacing one player replacing
Yes,
30 for another.
true. Yeah.
Then you're doing Laporte, who also doesn't have a fixture for Reece James or Rudiger. Chelsea also don't
Okay.
have a fixture in 30, and Salah doesn't have a fixture in 30 either. So or I think with those moves, you're guaranteeing to free hit at 30.
Which is fine. Yeah, I don't think that's swaying me. It's more, yeah, of interest in a fresh pair of eyes. You think this is a bit weak, which that's kind of what I'm a bit worried about. I mean, another option is because my bench is not the worst. You know, benching Laporte, I think City are going to win that, and it's probably going to be without conceding. I know United were good last week, but I just see a sort of comfy 2-0, will be at a derby. I mean, I kind of want to
Yeah.
play Laporte this week, so I could consider bench boosting.
As in,
there
you
wouldn't be
could,
any
as in
doublers.
do those, as in make those transfers and bench boost, so you wouldn't have Bowen against Liverpool and
Yeah, be quite aggressive. Maybe make a -8, but maybe get. I'm not even sure I'd get a doubler on my bench because I've only got 4. But at least it would strengthen Bowen and Weghorst, who are pretty weak on the bench.
Yeah, I mean, if you were going to bench boost though, and you've said you like the Laporte fixture again, I don't think United will score against City because I think City will control the game so well, and United are still a bit of a basket case. I would probably put money on United not scoring against City, and so the idea of getting rid of Laporte. That's one of the reasons why I'm kind of stepping away from definitely doing kind of both City defenders in my team to choose 2 Chelsea defenders because Cancelo and Laporte could both score very well against United. But then would you, because obviously if you're going to bench boost, would you not do Laporte to a Chelsea defender? You'd do Bowen to Ramsey, Son to Salah, and then would you take this opportunity to ship Weghorst as well then from -8 to bench boost, or is that too much for a bench
I
boost?
don't think I've got the cash. I think it'd be something like De Gea to Foster. Foster's got the double, but then obviously you go into the team. So maybe
Yeah,
I'm overthinking the bench boost and what it means, but that would only be Ramsdale on the bench. I just
that's
keep
pretty nice.
thinking
Pretty
yeah,
nice
it's
for
okay. I just keep thinking to 36 and thinking surely there's going to be more doublers on my bench, and it's not all about doublers for a bench boost, but that will help.
I think people who wildcard close to that 36 are going to obviously have doublers on their bench. But I think for people who cannot wildcard close enough to it,
I think it's going to be a
you'll
struggle.
have more. I don't think you'll have more than 11 doublers. I think if you have 11 doublers, you'll be delighted.
Yeah, true. But then you might have on your bench, a pretty crappy Trossard doubler or something, and are you really going to put him in the 11 ahead of a Son or something? So I'm thinking more of a 4 pointers on the bench.
No, true. But then, if you need to take a minus, if you feel that your team is slightly weak this week anyway, and you were going to take a -4 or -8, I'm in a very similar boat to you. It's actually quite interesting talking about this because my move isn't Son to Salah, it's Bruno to Salah. And I kind of feel like that's like I have to make that move.
Yeah.
And then anything else is a -4. So then if I am looking to bring in a Chelsea defender, it's a -4. So it's quite a similar decision for me as it is for you. But if you are worried about this, you could do Bowen to Ramsey, Son to Salah, and De Gea to Foster. So that's a -8, and then bench boost it. So you're playing Weghorst against Chelsea, which he's probably going to get 2 points if that. But you are playing Laporte against United, so that's part of your bench boost, and that's a pretty great fixture to bench boost for him, I think.
Yeah. Okay, let's have a look at your team. I think that might also help my thinking. But yeah, there's quite a few things going around my head. Interesting.
Yep.
Over to you.
So, yeah, mine hasn't loaded it. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So, obviously, yeah, easy to put Foster back in because he's doubling, and De Gea on the bench. I was thinking of a transfer out, but obviously, I don't think I am going to bench boost this week. When you look at our bench. Our bench is the same, isn't it? Apart from the
Yeah.
keeper.
Hopefully this is actually
So
your
that's
team.
why the
Yeah, it is.
decisions. That's why the decisions are quite similar. So, yeah, for me, the obvious move for me is Fernandes out against City. I feel like I may have taken Fernandes out last season when he had a really hard fixture, and I think he scored anyway. It may have been City. He may have got a penalty or something.
He got a pen, yeah, right. And I think it was
so
after a really
that could
barren
come
run.
back to haunt everybody.
And he popped up with a pen like the 5th minute or something. You still there, Nick?
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think he destroyed a few City. Yeah, I'm still here, but I think it's struggling a bit.
Go on, I can still hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
There you go. I tell you what, I might just switch my video off again, see if that helps.
Okay.
You can knock me off this slide if you so choose. So Fernandes to Salah seems pretty obvious to me. And I'm just going to keep waiting for this to load back up. There we go. And I think I would captain Salah above everybody else. But then the other potential moves, I really would like to get Reece James in.
Yeah.
So it's just
money,
whether
a -4, right, for either Cancelo or Laporte.
I would have. Yeah, I think I have just about. Although I think maybe Laporte. I think I can only go to Rudiger. I think it might be that I'm super close to it.
Oh, right.
Although
2.3 in the bank.
I think the team on the right is super close to it. So if I also go Gallagher to Rafinha, then I'm 0-0, and I can only go to Rudiger from Laporte. Whereas if I just make 2 moves and keep Gallagher and just do Laporte to Reece James and Fernandes to Salah. And I think, as I've said, I mean, I do think that City are going to keep a clean sheet. So I think getting rid of both my City defenders is probably not very wise, particularly given that Cancelo in any game can get an assist and bonus. So I think that's too much of a stretch. And Reece James may not even play both games. I just think if he just gets one of those games, he could do well. And I think Tuchel's bringing him back to fitness. So I don't see him being completely rested. I think he'll get minutes in both games, and he'll hopefully play 90 in one of them. But the choice on the right. So again, I'm thinking, okay, well, I'll get Rafinha in because he has a game in 30 and he's also got Norwich next week. We don't know what he's going to be like under the new, we don't know what Leeds are going to be like under the new coach, but he's obviously the best player in that team by a mile. So there's no way that he's not going to be, if he's wise, he's going to be trying to build his team around Rafinha while he's got him.
Yeah.
But that is a -8. The team on the transfers on the right, and I just think, if I bring in Reece James for Laporte, then I would bench Gallagher for Reece James, and I just think that then means I don't need to push Gallagher out. I mean, I've looked at Gallagher's fixtures now; they're not great, and obviously I missed his 12-pointer, last week or the week before, and that was pretty painful. But I don't see him getting kind of massive points. I mean, he'll do the odd game, but I think Rafinha would probably be a better long-term pick, but I just don't think it's probably worth the -8 this week.
Doesn't that give you a benching headache as well? Doing the -8, that you'd be benching Gallagher with a -4, but who do you bench with a -8?
So I would be benching Weghorst, Bowen, and then I think that's the other thing. It means probably benching Cancelo, which again I don't really like.
Not ideal.
No, so I think I don't need the -8, and I think that's probably a relief because it means I can get Reece James instead of Rudiger, and I think there's much more upside with Reece James because he is quality. Although Rudiger does get forward and he hits some pretty decent shots from range, but I think the stats bear out that he's not. You can't expect goals or assists from Rudiger, whereas from Reece James you've got much more chance of it.
And are you way more tempted to do the Chelsea move for let's say the Salah in for Son is your alpha move, definite first choice.
Salah in for Fernandes.
Sorry, yeah, Salah in for Fernandes. And then the Rudiger in move, is that way ahead of any other doubler? For example, Newcastle with a double, Coutinho for Bowen. I'm not sure if you could afford it, but Black was talking about the fact that some of the doublers are not statistically that great in terms of they don't play for really good form teams or with high XG. Do you know what I mean? I'm just wondering if maybe this might be another, maybe I'm crossing my fingers, damn squib of a game week, because it could be great on paper as a double, loads of teams doubling, but are they actually going to get the points?
No, exactly. And as I said earlier, I had been looking at Coutinho for this game, but again, with the added bonus of the fact that he would have a fixture in 30. But he just hasn't. He could still do well, but I've got Ramsey there, and I'm pleased to have Ramsey. And I think Ramsey's got actually just as good a chance as Coutinho getting points. So I'm kind of not too concerned about trying to get Coutinho into this team. And I think the Chelsea move, yes, Newcastle have the double. I'm just going to try and stick to my plan this season of just, like I kind of went against it for Weghorst. I went against that instinct of the fact that this guy's new to the league. Yes, he's got a goal, but he is still playing for Burnley, and yet we all captained him right in the double. So I think with Newcastle, yes, they could do okay. They're doing much better now. People are talking about getting in Ryan Fraser. It just doesn't, when you stand back and think about it, and he could do well, but just doesn't sound that great. Whereas the idea of getting in Rudiger or Reece James for Norwich and Burnley, when Chelsea have got a good defense, they've got great fixtures coming up. Their fixtures are really, really good until the end of the season.
Yeah.
And I think, and they've still got quite a few fixtures to rearrange because obviously they've missed a load of games. I can't remember what those fixtures are, but City aren't going to have any doubles, or I guess they will have a double when they're still in the FA Cup, City, aren't they?
Yeah. Beat Peterborough.
Yeah, so they will have a double, but I don't think, the nice thing for me is obviously I've got the double up of the City defence. So just losing one of them, there are lots of people who apparently are weighing up losing Cancelo for a Chelsea defender, whereas I probably have the luxury of just moving Laporte out 4-1. So I think I have considered some other moves. I have been thinking about Newcastle. I mean, Joe Willock, obviously, he scored quite a few goals towards the end of last season, and he was kind of in my thoughts, and he's just started doing that again now.
Yeah.
I do like the double, but I just, because I'm doing that Fernandes to Salah move that I had booked in, and Salah is, I think Salah is the best player in the world at the moment. And they've obviously got that double next week that I'm going to want him in for anyway. That is kind of, I can't, it's a bit of a non-negotiable, that move, even though I was trying to kind of talk you out of it. But it just means that every other transfer this week is a -4.
Exactly.
And, I just think getting in Newcastle players or, going for even players like Rafinha or Coutinho, it's just not worth that -4 for me this week. And I'm quite pleased because I think I've got, what have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and with a Chelsea defender 6, I'd have 6 doublers this week. And I think it's something like 7 next week. It might be 6 or 7 next week. So I'm pretty happy with how that's fallen.
I was just looking to see if you're. I was just looking at my team to see if your -4 is easier to make than me doing a -4, because my thought was that Gallagher is the weakest link in your team by more of a distance than my weakest link. But I mean, didn't Gallagher, his last away game, he get the 12 points? So
yeah,
I'm wondering, do you need to do that? And also, you can't comfortable benching Laporte over Gallagher? Or are you tempted to do it would be a back 5? But if you think United aren't going to concede, sorry, City.
No, I know, but I do, obviously, if I do make the Chelsea move, which I think I'm getting more and more set on, and I'm a dreamer because even though he's not fully fit, I do think Reece James has huge upside. I would bench Gallagher quite easily for Reece James.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, if it wasn't Wolves and Gallagher doesn't get points in every single game, I could easily see him getting 2 points against Wolves. It's at Molineux as well. So if it was a home game for Palace, or even if it's an away game against somebody easier, then I might well keep him in the team and not bring in Reece James. But I just think I don't love that fixture. Wolves away for Gallagher.
Yeah. Okay. What does my ticker say about that? That puts it down pretty hard for Palace. That's because Palace's XG away is horrible.
Yeah.
And Wolves' XGC is not too bad at home, and their form's good at home. So yeah, it could be tricky.
So I mean, interestingly, who are you going to captain? You think if you bring Salah in, which you're almost 95% likely to do, you're going to captain Salah even above any other double game weeker?
Yeah.
Would you captain Salah above a Chelsea defender?
Maybe. Yeah, but I think that might be last week swaying me a little bit and me getting a bit upset that I fell into the Veghorst trap.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that didn't work, so I'll try something different, which is not the only way to play FPL for sure, but it kind of makes sense in a way, you know.
But they're also worse. I mean, this is the thing, right? And I looked at that West Ham game for Liverpool and thought it's only a single and it's West Ham. It's not the best fixture, but it's Salah, and he could get a hat trick in any game. I talk about somebody could score in any game. Salah could get a hat trick in any game. He's that good.
Yeah.
And so I think there are worse people to be boring and captain a single game week for.
Yeah, and I did think that a little bit last week when I put the captain on Veghorst. I thought at the end of the season, I'm inevitably going to make a table, or there's going to be an amazing tool that's going to list all the captains of the season, and Veghorst is going to be in the table. And I'll be thinking, what the hell was I doing? And okay, it's a double game week, but you have the chance to captain Salah in red hot form. He's just been rested in midweek, so yeah, I'm pretty on for that. Okay, we're at an hour and 10.
Well, and the lovely thing about it is that because of the double and because so many people are going to be blinded by the double, his EO probably won't even be over 100%. I wouldn't think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Although maybe it will. It'll probably. I think it will. I reckon it'll be 110% on Salah because there'll still be loads of dead teams, won't there, that are captaining him still.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, he's obviously dropped off massively as we saw earlier, but yeah, that's going to be a lot of free hitters removing, isn't it? And he wouldn't have shown up because he had a blank.
Yeah.
So you might be right. Did you want to do a bit of tinkering and then we'll maybe call it a day?
Yeah. I mean, we've probably talked through most of it now, but let me share my screen here.
And this is the joke that is now about an hour old, but we've got Nick's stationary picture on the right with him perusing over his hits.
We couldn't figure out how to share the video and also for me to be able to screen share at the same time. So we took this really cheesy screenshot of me. But actually, as it was, I think this would have been better if we just had this image up the whole stream.
Little did we know, that the lag is so bad.
Than me on a crazy delay. But yeah, it's nice to be able to show this. There's a few other sites now that are popping up with these kind of planners, but I've become so familiar with the live FPL one, and a huge shout out again to Ragaboli because he's one of my favorite people in FPL. And his story is very cool. But I think I'm on plan like 75 now or something. I've used this a lot, and obviously every game week I love it, but every game week the plan that I've made is then kind of out of date, so I just kind of delete it out and start again with my new team. But this is showing, so on the right here, this table is obviously showing the planned transfers. So this is where I was considering kind of the Cancelo and Laporte out for Rudiger and James, and obviously the Salah in for Fernandes transfer. This is a -8. It does look very nice. You can see that I would probably captain Reece James if I bring him in. But again, if I hear anything in the press conferences that suggests that he's not going to play, or that he's not ready to play both games, or we don't get anything really concrete from Tuchel, then maybe I'll just revert and just captain Salah, because again, I quite like that this week now. But the thing that's really great about these planners now is that you can obviously skip forward. So if we skip forward to the next game week, this might take a little bit to load before it catches up on the stream. Can you see that now, Ashley?
Yeah.
So for this game week, my other then transfer is a planned transfer to go Ramsdale in for his double. But again, Leicester and Liverpool, actually Arsenal could probably concede in both of those games, so maybe that's not the best thing. But then Saka in for the double and taking Gallagher out next week anyway before a City game. But that's again a -4 next week, so the hit's kind of building up. It's a -12, but it would give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 doublers next week as well. But I guess when you're making this many transfers, you'd expect to have that number of doublers. But then what's really interesting, if we jump forward to, obviously could have Cancelo in against Crystal Palace if I don't make 2 Chelsea transfers, which I don't think I will now. I think I'll keep Cancelo because so many people have got rid of him as well, which I like. But if you look at game week 30 now, and obviously I would have made, maybe 4 transfers, and the only one who would have a fixture is Ramsdale, and Saka as well. So Ramsdale and Saka. But even with bringing in 2 Arsenal players for their double in 29, which I quite like, I've got hardly any. I've got several players missing. How many have I got? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players. So, and I wouldn't, I could obviously make another transfer this week and try and bring somebody in. But the other difficult thing is then, if you're not going to free hit, is that who do you take out of this team for, okay, maybe for 1 week, but if you try and bring them straight back, you've lost value on them or whatever else. But I just
go
think
to your bench. I mean, Veghorst is dispensable, Broja potentially.
Yeah.
But that's kind of it.
Well, and also, you're right to pick up on Veghorst and Broja, and I was looking at this, but because they're both so cheap, it's not like I can jump up to a Lacazette just for a week. I just haven't got the funds to do that. I don't really want to take another -4 this week if I've already taken, 1 in 28 and 1 in 29. So
it's never stopped you before, but yeah.
No, true. But I mean, but one of the reasons why I'm doing okay this season is because I have tried to have a lot more self-control on hits and think about them a lot more. So I just think that I am going to have to free hit in 30, because I think even having 8 players, because again, they're not even going to be the best 8. They're just going to be 8 players who have a game. So yeah, I think looking at this, do you think it's kind of unavoidable to not free hit in 30 for me now?
Not definitely. I think you got to think, who you're going to captain and how scared are you without. I mean, Leicester, we don't know what they're going to be like. I still think that's why I'm kind of open, because we could get there and Leicester might be awful, Spurs might be awful, Conte's flogged to everyone, and Son and Kane are not an asset. So you might think, well, who am I going to captain, and therefore who am I really scared of? There is a part of me that thinks it could be a real low scoring week and we might get away with it. But I do think that structure question is important, that if you want, I mean, you haven't got Kane here, right? So if you wanted a Kane or a Vardy or you've already got Jimenez, to be fair, so that's good because he's got the Leeds game. But that might be really difficult to do, without taking out someone that you immediately want back.
But I think, having looked at the free hit team that you put up for 30, and I love the way the analysis you did to come to that team. I think there's enough upside in that free hit 30 team to warrant playing the free hit, because as you say, I haven't got Kane in this team. I'm taking -4s, -8s to kind of get to it. You think if I wanted to have more than 7 or more than 8 players, every single transfer is a -4 to get them in. They're not doubling, they've just got one fixture. So I don't know. I just think that there is enough upside in having 11 of the best players in that week, when there will be a few free hits played that week, certainly, but there are also a lot of people now, because they wildcarded in 26 or because they wildcarded in 28, they're not going to free hit in 30, and they won't have the perfect team for 30. So I do think there is enough upside in that. And then if in 33, because this was kind of another plan that I had for kind of 1 Chelsea and then free hit 33. So it's kind of bringing in players like Rafinha. He's obviously got Norwich next week, but bringing him in because he has a fixture in 30. Just trying to make sure that my transfers are all going to be for players who are coming in 30. But obviously, again, you cannot compromise too much, because obviously Salah doesn't, a Chelsea defender doesn't. So it's just, do you just make sure all your transfers are for this fixture that, as you've said, or this set of fixtures where there might not be a mountain of points. So I think it's better for me to structure my team for the long term, make transfers not because somebody has a game in some random game week, but actually because they've got great fixtures over the next 5 to 7 game weeks, like a Chelsea player, and Salah. So yeah, I'm very much leaning now towards free hitting in 30.
Yeah. Can't disagree with that.
So there we go. I will stop sharing my screen.
I'm just going to say, so I think you said you got 6 doublers next week. I was just going to compare that to how many I had. And again, it's not about the doublers, but I think I've got a few more, maybe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, no, I've got 6 as well. Okay, neck and neck on that. So that's a good sanity check, though. Because, I mean, wildcarders, I'm hearing, they've got like 7 this week and 10 next week or something. It's pretty big, but it's just not going to happen. Okay, should we wrap up?
Yeah, this has been super useful again, Shlee. Thank you for this, because I think sensibly, I think only one only one Chelsea defender in, Reece James because it's more fun, and Fernandes to Salah. I think that's probably it for -4.
Okay. I still think -4, but I think I would go Rudiger because unless you do hear something concrete, but I don't know. I mean, but if you did get James, would you captain him?
Unless I heard something really concrete, probably not. I'd probably captain Salah.
Okay.
Because it's a bit like the Weghorst thing, where I think just having Reece James in could be enough. It's risk versus reward, isn't it? Because the risk is that James comes in, I captain him, and he doesn't do anything, or he misses minutes, and Salah gets a goal. But the safer thing is to get him in and not double down on it.
One just random thought. How about De Gea to Mendy as well and bench boost? Because you'd have 2 doubling keepers then.
Oof. But I would be bench boosting. So if I've made the transfers, I'm benching Gallagher against
Bowen,
Wolves.
Gallagher, yeah, but also Foster, I suppose.
Yeah,
Gets
it's
out
not.
of the way.
Yeah, and it's out of the way, but if the fixtures aren't great, if they're even slightly better. I mean, Gallagher against Wolves away, we've just said it's most likely he gets 2. Bowen against Liverpool away, it's not likely that he does brilliantly. Weghorst against Chelsea, like it could just be a. It could be a kind of. It could be a 10 point.
Yeah,
A 10
we have
point
taken a
free
-8
hit.
to get it.
Exactly. That's the thing.
But then just on bench boost, I know we touched on it. Are you still thinking 36, albeit it's going to be hard to structure it very well, but that's the best option?
I think actually, did I look at this? My bench boost in 29 might be okay. But this is the nice thing though now, right? Because with every week with the bench boost, you can look at it and just say, what's my bench look like this week? Yeah, they're singles. So for example, my bench boost next week could be Seiss against Everton away, Weghorst against Brentford away, and Ramsey against West Ham away. But it wouldn't have a doubling keeper. So I don't think the doubling keeper is necessarily crucial to it, but I think probably now I'll just probably wait till 36 and see what it looks like. And then in 37, if it looks terrible, then in 37 or 38, there might be an opportunity to do it there. I mean, I've got enough value in my team that I don't, because, the nice thing about getting the bench boost out of the way is you can then take some value out of your team. But because of players like Broja and Ramsey, there isn't that
got it there.
There isn't that much value in my team, in my bench anyway. So
I think that's the one problem I've got, that I do have a lot. I'm struggling with cash, so you can see from your team you've got a lot more, and it's because you've got a Ramsey and I've got a Harrison.
Yeah,
does make quite a big difference.
Yeah. Are you thinking what's your kind of the latest thing in your mind about your moves this week?
I've definitely got a lot more to consider. There's so many ways I could go. I mean, we haven't mentioned getting rid of Jota, and I think we were talking just before we came on about me maybe doing that, so that allows me Robertson next week. I would be loving 3 Liverpool next week, and you're going to have the strong 3 Liverpool. But everything does take hits, and I am a bit more. I've just got to be a bit careful there. It's annoying because there's so many sideways moves I could do that could benefit. I could do Harrison to Rafinha, but Harrison, new manager, is he really going to be benched in one of those? You'd like to think he's just going to go with a strong team and see for a few games how they click. You're talking about Saka. Totally agree. I've got Martinelli. I've almost got the cheap versions of classic players that people are going to have. Jota's got a double next week, albeit he might have something from the bench, but that might be okay. And Nori, so there isn't an obvious one. So I do kind of still think I like the idea of no hits. Might almost a boring solid team that everyone's got, and everyone's sort of running away from this sort of team, but it might come quite good. And then maybe even putting Laporte in, not sure who it would be for. Maybe Martinelli, I gamble that he doesn't start, or maybe Jota, and getting that double City, if that comes in, that could be a lush differential.
Yeah, I actually really like that. I think you're right, because Harrison, there is enough. He's a bit like the Reece James pick. There's enough upside there that it's worth taking the risk on him, because they could have a new manager bounce. He could be, him and Rafinha are the 2 players in that team with a fair amount of talent. And Leicester's obviously, their defense isn't great. Villa's not doing fantastically well either. So the fixtures aren't that bad either. So yeah, and Laporte, I probably would probably would play Laporte over Martinelli because Watford they're a bit tighter now, aren't they?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so I need to maybe just check the sort of predicted points on those ones. I am jealous, though, no doubt, of all these doublers. You know, Ramsey, I get your argument of that. It could be if I do just the Salah move, a high behind the couch kind of weekend because, you know, if the City game doesn't go great and, you know, Ignori could easily get benched, I could be sat here next week feeling pretty upset because that could all go wrong, you know, and Harrison gets benched could easily happen. Okay, I've not taken a hit, but
Bowen gets a goal against Liverpool.
no, that I won't be too annoyed about because yeah, I wouldn't have put him in. But yeah, as long as Salah gets 4, that'd be good. So yeah,
yeah, I think your most sensible move is Son to Salah.
Yeah,
Captain
we'll
Salah.
stick with that. Yeah.
But
Right.
I
On
would
that
probably
note,
put Laporte in.
yeah,
Let's leave it there. Thank you
so
so much.
that's the longest one we've done. We need to mention if anyone's got this far, please like and subscribe. We will see what the views for this one are and see if the Google algorithm's been friendly, but that'll be interesting. We set up the league, and I didn't put the code on the front page, so we'll put that in the description. People can join the league.
Very cool. You can all try and finish it above us between now and the end of the season.
Well,
so
yeah, specifically above yourself, but yeah, that you'll be top at least for that. So I'll screen grab that, so it's definitely in for next week.
The winner of the league wins a curly whirly. We'll send it in the post.
Excellent. Do they make them anymore, or have you got one in your cupboard from?
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
good.
the kids had a curly whirly tonight, snack size.
Just for their dinner with some chips.
Yeah, that was it. That was the main meal.
Good. All right, Nick, we'll have fun this weekend and speak to you next week, mate.
Thank you, sir. Best of luck, and we'll speak soon.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.